All right. Well, this is not at all how we envisioned starting or coming back from our summer break. Um, without really any easy way to say this, if you didn't already see the news, Johnny Gaudreau from the Columbus Blue Jackets and his brother Matthew passed away in a horribly awful accident last night, just outside of Philadelphia, New Jersey. They were unfortunately victims of a drunk driver who we won't mention his name in the show and we'll just leave it at that. But they were on their bikes and were hit and unfortunately were pronounced dead at the scene. And the entire hockey world this morning and all the way up to now is devastated. We're all mourning. We're all grieving. Where most of us are miserable. It doesn't feel real that Johnny Gaudreau and his brother as well are no longer with us. And very rarely am I a guy that has nothing to say. I never really find a way to, or I never really find myself speechless. And this is just kind of really really having a hard time wrapping my head around this.
Yeah, I like you said, very seldom am I at a loss for words, but I don't know. This is just this sucks, and not. I know we talked about when we ended the show for the season back in July or whenever that was. We talked about if anything major pops up during our off season, we'll come back and talk about it. This is not at all what I had in mind.
Not even a little bit.
And I think it was really weird for me because I woke up this morning and I had a message from you. Well, first thing I saw, I had a message from our buddy John, and he was like, really hoping the rumors I'm hearing about Johnny Hockey aren't true. And I'm like, what the fuck? And before I even looked at your message, I just Googled Johnny Gaudreau, and I was like, you know how when you're half awake, you don't read shit correctly all the time?
Yeah.
So how I read the article was, the headline was Johnny Gaudreau's brother, Matthew, dead in drunk driving or dead while cycling. So I was like, oh shit, it's his brother. Because when John texted me, I thought he meant like, I was like, what, they fucking trade him out of nowhere or some shit? What happened? And then after I like saw that, I was like, oh, it's his brother. I went to read your message. You're like, Johnny Gaudreau is dead. And I was about to be like, no, it was his brother. So I went back to check the article one more time. And then I realized the article title said Johnny Gaudreau, comma, brother Matthew, dead in cycling accident. I was like, oh, fuck. It's just really weird. It doesn't seem real, I guess. The whole day thinking about it's just been kind of a blur.
Yeah. I woke up this morning and I saw, of all people, I call him Tabloid Tim. Tim Peel loves to just throw shit out on Twitter. And I don't follow him, but his tweet appeared on my feed about hope the rumors aren't true, #CBJ. And I had no clue what was going on. So I started digging, and then all of a sudden I started seeing things like, oh, it's Johnny Gaudreau. He's dead. And I'm like, there's no way. Cause I'm like, if he was, this would have been widely reported. But as time progressed throughout the morning while I was getting ready for work today, I started realizing, I'm like, no legitimate sources have come out and denied this either. And it's been radio silent from every legit source, insider, the team. And that started to get me worried. And about 2 minutes before I picked up my phone and wallet and got ready to leave my house to go to work, I saw the post from the Blue Jackets, and it just hit me like a train. I mean, it's so horrible. Everything about it. I mean, he's such a young guy. He's got a young family. I think they just had another child. I mean, he has 2 kids.
I think his wife is pregnant, actually.
And so he's got he's got this wonderful life he has. He's got a wonderful family. Him and, his whole family's at home for his sister's wedding that was supposed to be today. And just everything about this sucks.
Yeah,
I don't even know where to begin with this. Obviously, as a professional athlete, he's got so many people who he knows from playing the game, and just the outpouring of support for him and his family over social media, and the thousands of kind words said about him from many tweets from insiders, players, former players, fans. I don't know if I said media, but a lot of the writers had so many great things to say about Johnny Gaudreau, which sometimes they don't say about a lot of players, but just every every single account of this guy is that he was just the nicest person on the planet. And you see stuff like I think it was just a few days ago, Sean Monahan was actually talking about how excited he was to not only be with the Blue Jackets, but to play with Johnny again. And, they're very close friends, so raise their kids together. And just, you think about that, and you think about even his career and everything like that, and it just how quickly all of it can go away. And it's so sad how precious life is. When I left for work this morning, I hugged my wife tighter than I've probably ever hugged her since our wedding. I mean, I squeezed her pretty damn hard. And just hug your relatives, tell them you love them. You just never know when it can be all over, and nobody's invincible. It's so, I can't even put a sentence together right now talking about this. It's just so sad.
And it's even, I think it hits home even harder for everybody just because of who it is. He's such a big name, not just in the NHL, but in hockey, generally speaking. And
his brother too. His brother just had a baby.
Yeah.
And so actually there's a GoFundMe out there as well right now for his wife. Matthew's wife, I believe Madeline is her name, and their baby Trip that they just had. There's a GoFundMe out there for them right now as well. So if you can find that, I know Elliot Friedman actually just retweeted it. Now that I just pulled up Twitter, and Elliot Friedman retweeted it. So there you go. But yes, if you can donate to that as well, obviously Johnny's family and his wife will be fine given his career payout. So, it's good that while this is a horrible, devastating tragedy, she's not going to be completely left to raise two kids with no means or access. But all that aside, it's just impossible to wrap your head around. And I do think you're right that given the magnitude of who this was, he's a superstar in the game. He's one of the best players in the league. I mean, a couple of years ago, he was top 5 in MVP voting. And just like I said, an all-around great guy. He was the first superstar that really chose to come to the city of Columbus and really became an ambassador for the city. And he's been an ambassador for the game. And you and I being shorter guys on the shorter end of the height scale, I mean, we can look up to a guy who was undersized his whole career. I mean, this is a guy that I think he went to the draft combine. I don't remember if it was socks or pucks, but he stuffed his clothes so his weight would look heavier, so teams wouldn't think he was a frail stick. I mean, this is a guy that's overcome every odd he's faced, being underweight, being short. I mean, it was just such an inspiring story, and to be as good as he was and as well loved as he is, and just all that, I think it really adds so much more pain to this than we would already have if it were any other player in the league. But when it's somebody who's just such a humanitarian and an ambassador, it fucking sucks.
Yeah. And I don't want to take away from the fan base or the Blue Jackets or Flames organizations or anybody who's grieving through this, but I think ultimately who I think about the most right now are the parents. To lose both of your kids at one, not both of your kids, but two of your kids at the same time like that. That's just fucking horrible. And like you said,
parents should never have to bury their children.
Absolutely. Especially more than one at the same time. It's just, the whole situation's awful. And I mean, like you mentioned earlier, the wedding, their sister's wedding was supposed to be today, and they were groomsmen in it. So it's just a whole chain reaction of terrible things that come out of this. That's pretty awful. And another perfect example, you could say a textbook example of why you shouldn't drink and drive.
Yeah, please, for the love of God, get a fucking cab, get an Uber, get your friend to pick you up, your mom, your dad, it don't matter. Stop. We got to stop with these stupid, senseless deaths with drinking and driving. It's not okay. And it leads to a mess like this. I mean, that could have been anybody out there. I mean, that could have been your brother, your nephew, your cousin. That could have been them that got hit. I mean, this drinking and driving bullshit, it's just got to stop.
Yeah, this ultimately sucks. And there's a lot more to this, especially what's coming out now after seeing the court hearing and everything. There's a lot more to this that we're not going to discuss. That's a lot more grim and dark and aggravating. That we won't discuss on this, because this is, like I said, this wasn't a planned episode. I don't really consider this an episode of the show. This is just more of a tribute to Johnny.
I do want to take a quick aside here and say for those of you listening, we will be like officially back for season 2. We'll be back on the 15th of September, so it will be very soon. And at some point before the season starts, we'll talk about the Jackets and the ramifications that this has. But this is certainly not the time for that. And right now, we just want to join the NHL community and the hockey community and his family and friends, and just grieving the loss of such an incredible person. This sucks so bad for everybody. Nobody likes this. This is just, I can't put a sentence together right now. It's just so frustrating. It's so out of nowhere. You just want to go to sleep and have it all go away.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly. It's like a really bad dream. That's exactly what this feels like. And, to outsiders looking in that think this might sound silly, for people who don't know him personally to be feeling this heavy, it's the same way I'm trying to figure out how to word this properly, but we'll say celebrities in this case that you're extremely invested in, their life or whatever. It's the same kind of thing in this situation. We're hurting because the hockey community as a whole is so tight. And even though you don't know these guys personally, they're still a big part of your life. And in a sense, they're in your living room every other night during hockey season. So it's rough.
They're a part of a group of people that bring thousands and millions of people together. And yeah, you hit it right on the head. We don't know these people, but they're a huge part of what we love. And somebody like this, who's such a public figure for the league like this, it hurts. It'd be like if a famous celebrity died, and I don't want to name names because I don't want to put any hexes or jinxes on anyone, but it's the same thing. It's like when we lose a great person, we mourn. That's how we do it. It's human nature to be sad and be in shock and disbelief and mad, and so this outlet for us is kind of our way to just talk about this, because who else are you going to talk about it with?
Right. And I mean, it's again, and this is where the hockey community, this is what I meant by it's a close-knit group. This is where we all come together. And I do think if you are someone who's listening to the show and you have one or multiple hockey sticks in your household, they should be on your front porch or your back porch this evening in memoriam of the Gaudreau brothers.
That's right. Absolutely.
So this is pretty awful. And like I said, we didn't want to come on here and take up a bunch of time either, but this was something that we weren't not going to address. I mean, anybody in the hockey community, if you say the name Johnny Hockey, they know exactly who you're talking about. And one thing I do want to say too, is everybody's focusing more on Johnny Gaudreau. We're not taking anything away from Matthew Gaudreau either. It's a tragedy for both of them. It's just that more people know who Johnny Gaudreau is. So it's going to blow up more for him than it is for Matthew, but that doesn't take away or make it any less sad or less of a tragedy. The whole thing is disgusting. And
yeah, just the way it happened, everything about it is like a worst case nightmare scenario. It's all awful. So I do want to really commend the people in Columbus and in Calgary who brought memorabilia, flowers, gifts, and stuff to leave outside of the respective arenas there in memoriam for Johnny Gaudreau. On the front of Nationwide Arena by the main entrances, there's a huge mural. It's got a few players. I think it's got Boone Jenner, and I think it's got one of the Russians, and it's got Johnny Gaudreau up there as well. And it's a big, beautiful mural. So a man who's such an ambassador for that city and for the game of hockey, he's got his face still up there. And they put the banners in front of the doors this morning, and in memory of Johnny Gaudreau. And again, a huge thanks to all the fans that brought those out to those arenas. I mean, any bit of support helps. I was watching, I think it was a CBS News segment out of Columbus, and they were talking about two fans that ran into each other. One had a Gaudreau jersey, and one had Kivlenik's jersey on from when he passed a couple years ago as well, very tragically. And but the two people didn't know each other, and they just hugged it out in front of the arena. And sometimes that's what we need as fans. You don't need to know the guy next to you to be grieving with them. And I just, as tough as this is, it's nice to see our community come together and support each other, because we all so badly need it.
Everything you just said proves exactly what I previously said about everybody coming together. And that's, I mean, that right there is exactly why I love this sport so much. Not that it doesn't happen in other communities, but what I'm just saying is it just feels extra special. Um, and dude, remember when it was announced that Gaudreau was coming to Columbus? How absolutely nuts people went in Columbus. You would have thought they just won the cup just because they were getting Johnny Gaudreau. So that right there speaks volumes to the kind of not just player, but the kind of person he was too. People were over the moon about that decision, except Flames fans, but that's
Well,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I even think over time, eventually that wound would heal. A lot of Flames fans had already forgiven him, but even the ones that had, and I think time heals all wounds, and eventually they would have got to the point where it's like, you know what, he's still a Flame for life. And had he stayed here and been able to finish his career in Columbus, he would have been a Jacket for life. And we are partial to the Jackets on this show. So to those of you who listen who are fans of the Blue Jackets, this is going to suck for a long time. It's going to hurt. It's going to be tough to talk about the team from a hockey aspect without thinking of this. And eventually when we preview the team on our season preview, we're going to kind of have to be very careful how we go about this, because I really want to try and be as respectful as we can when we do. And so it's going to sting for a while. Going to games probably is going to have kind of a weird, somber feeling to it for a little bit. It sucks, man. It really just sucks.
This is the last thing that, and I'm talking to the listeners specifically here. This is the last thing Brian and I wanted to come on here and talk about. This is the last thing we ever want to talk about.
I assumed the next time we came on here would be the PWHL stuff, which we'll address that eventually too, because we never got that.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, as soon as we have the information, we'll follow through.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this really sucks. And again, to the Columbus Blue Jackets organization, the fans, the friends, the family. I mean,
the Flames,
all grieving.
Boston College, USA Hockey.
We're all grieving with you. I mean, this is a huge blow to hockey as a whole, not just specific organizations, but especially to those. But this is really unfortunate. And I will say, one thing I have spent the day doing is, I mean, I wasn't just sitting on my phone all day doing this, but periodically just looking.
Don't let him lie to you. He didn't even work today.
Yeah, that's true. Honestly, I'm glad I didn't, because it would have been a even rougher day.
I worked only about half a day at work. We were pretty slow. So, and I'm glad, dude, the whole day, all I was thinking about with this, I was glad to leave early.
Yeah. But the one good thing that came out of it that was kind of nice, I should say, was, I was watching Johnny Gaudreau highlights, and that does help lighten the mood. And it really just shows what we're going to be missing in the hockey world moving forward. So, I mean, it's somber, but at the same time, remember all the good moments from him.
Yeah, definitely. The personality that shined on and off the ice. Johnny, you'll be missed very much. Matthew, you'll be missed very much. This world is a far worse place without your two great personalities in it. Rest easy, and we're so sorry you were gone so soon, and to your families and former teammates and friends. The whole hockey world and the whole sports world is behind you, and we love you.
Absolutely. And I just want to say to everybody listening, hug your loved ones extra tight tonight. Make sure you tell them you love them. And other than this, I hope everybody's been having a great summer, and take care of yourselves, and we'll be talking again real soon.
Yep. September 15th, we'll be back, and we'll be a little bit more cheerful. You guys take care till then. And hockey's almost here. So let's find that silver lining, and we'll all get through this together.